Welcome back, artist! Today I'm going to show you one of my absolutely favorite techniques that I use for a ton of projects because it is easy, it is clean, and you can use most anything that you guys have in your house to make this. We're going to be using markers to do printmaking. So we're going to be doing marker printing. We used marker printing this year for a couple of things, and one thing we did was our second grade project with our Chinese art unit. We did marker prints of the terracotta Chinese warriors, and we made our own army by printing our soldiers over and over and over again. So I'm going to show you guys how to do the marker printing, and if you're doing this for our Youth Art Month Challenge, you don't have to do the Chinese warriors. You can do any kind of picture that you want to, as long as you're demonstrating that marker printmaking technique. Flowers turn out really good all the time. Hearts are really easy. It can be anything you want, just as long as it's a super simple shape. All right, guys, meet me at the table and I'll tell you what you need to get.
Okay, friends, so now for one of my favorite techniques, the marker printing. Again, we use this for our Chinese soldiers, the terracotta warriors, and our Chinese art unit, but you don't have to do that. You can make any kind of design that you want to. I did a design this summer at Art Scouts, and it turned out to be this, and I printed all of my flowers. So these are actually all the same flower that I made and printed over and over and over again. So this is a great project or a great technique for if you want to make something over and over again, but maybe you don't want to draw it 1,000 times. So again, your design can be whatever you want. Just keep it nice and simple. Here is what you're going to need. First, you're going to need some styrofoam. I recommend a styrofoam plate because there's so much space to work with. You could also use the middle of a bowl or even, I suppose, the bottom of a cup. I've never tried the styrofoam cups, but I imagine that they would work too. So styrofoam plates, you need a pencil for drawing, you need whatever color markers. Now this is important. They've got to be the washable markers. You can't use Sharpies for this because they won't work. It's got to be washable markers. You're also going to need a wet sponge, and if you don't have sponges, a wet paper towel or a wet napkin or even just a tiny bit of water on your hands will work too, but I really like the sponge because it makes it nice and even. You're going to need some scissors and something to roll. Now, these things are called brayers. We use them in class. If you don't have a brayer, which most of us don't have this at our house, you probably have this thing at your house. A rolling pin also works. And if your parents aren't very keen on you using their cooking supplies in your artwork, we can just use our hands, and that is okay too. Again, I just like the rolling things because they make it more even, but it works without them too. So, first step is going to be deciding what you want your artwork to be. So to keep it simple, I'm just going to do a heart because it's fast and it's easy. I'm going to draw it in the middle of my plate, and I'm going to draw it pretty big. Now I'm saying this because I know that you can't really see it on the video. It is really difficult to see me drawing stuff on the styrofoam. I know because when we try it in class, and I'm using my dot cam, you guys can never see what I'm doing on my poor plate. So here, oh, you can see it. Hello. Hi there, heart. So you can see it on there. Now, personally, I think that that heart is a little bit boring, so I'm going to add some more designs to it. And guys, I'm just drawing on this like I would draw on a piece of paper. I am going a tiny bit slower because I don't want to risk punching holes in the styrofoam because I'm dragging it too fast and I'm being real careful. You're going to find out that styrofoam is a little different from drawing on paper, but I think you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. Okay, so I pizzazzed my heart. I got a few designs on there and I like that better. So the next step is going to be to cut it out. And it makes this delightful crunch, crunch noise. And if you start to run into where you can't turn your hand anymore, just rip off the part of the plate that you don't need. Get that thing out of the way. And we're going to go around and cut it out as close to it as you can get. You really can't have any like extra stuff out here. You want to get it right up close to the edge. Bam. Okay. So now I've got my heart cut out, and out of the way is my other stuff. Now I'm ready for my markers. My markers are going to be used to, of course, color the heart or color whatever design you made. I'm just coloring my styrofoam. Now guys, if you've ever tried to color styrofoam before, especially with just a regular marker, you know that it does not stay on. It wipes right off, which is spectacular because that's exactly what we want it to do. So when I'm coloring, I'm going to be really careful to keep my fingers away from it. I'm kind of holding down here at the edge. And I'm gonna color around. Oh, maybe I'll change up my colors. Maybe I want it to be kind of tie-dyed, which is a pretty cool thing that you can do with these because I do slide around so easily. You can really blend those colors together. I should have used my yellow first, which I always tell the kids, use the yellow first if you're gonna, because it does kind of mess up the nib a little bit, the little edge of it. But I'm gonna color in there, and I'm gonna get the whole thing covered with no white space. There we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I'm gonna choose where I want my heart to go on my paper. And I'm gonna use my sponge. My sponge is wet, it's not dripping, but it is moist. I can feel that it has water in it. I'm gonna pet my paper wherever I want my heart to go. Notice that I'm going in the same direction. I'm not going all over the place, and I'm not squeezing out the sponge. I'm very gently petting in the same direction. So now my paper is wet. And I'm gonna take my heart, flip it upside down, and now comes the part where if you had a rolling pin or if you have a brayer, this is where you would start to roll. And if you don't have that, you can just kind of press it with your hands. But since I have a roller, I'm gonna roll over this. What's happening is all the ink is rubbing off of the styrofoam and onto that nice wet paper. And if I didn't have a roller to do that, I could just kind of do like this on the back of it, and then ta-da! There it is. There's the heart. Now what's great about printmaking is I could take this styrofoam heart, color it a different way, stamp it again, color it a different way, stamp it again, and again, and again, and again. When I did these flowers, I stamped them all onto a piece of copy paper like this one, and then I cut them out to collage them onto this other piece of paper. So you could do that as well. If you don't like the way that it looks just out here on its own, you could always cut it out and put it on with another piece of paper to make a whole different picture. Every time that you reprint this, you've got to recolor, re-wet the paper, flip it, roll it, okay? So it's always a color, wet, flip, and roll. I need to come up with an anagram for that, some kind of word. Color, roll, flip, and wet, and okay. So that is it. All right, guys, I'd love to see what kind of stuff you come up with. It can be any kind of design, hearts, flowers, Chinese soldiers. It can be any kind of thing. All right, happy arting.